Hello and welcome back to Warhammer. We got another manifesto for you. This is the second one of Mark's manifestos. Hey, I'm Mark. Be a funny episode if this is the first thing of Warhammer you ever listened to. Be a little weird, but maybe that's happened to somebody out there. Today on our episode, we're going to be discussing, is 40K a setting or a story? You've probably heard me rant about this many times throughout the podcast, but here's a more solidified version of it. Hope this brings some help. I tried not to take a side either on some of these. Like, I kind of broke these down into like a script, get all the options out there, but I definitely have my own takes that I'll share at the end. Come join the Patreon. If you like the show, come join the Patreon, couple bucks. You get ad-free versions, all that good stuff, and you just get the satisfaction of knowing you're supporting the show. These shows live and die with the support. You can't just make it on ads. I could put a billion ads in each episode, but I wouldn't want to do that to you. So just come join the Patreon. All right, so is 40K a setting or a story? Warhammer tells us the galaxy is dying. The Imperium is collapsing. Chaos is ascendant, and humanity stands on the brink of extinction. And it's been that way for nearly 40 years. So what is 40K really? Is it a story moving forward, evolving, building towards something inevitable? Or is it a setting, a frozen moment in time designed to burn forever, but nothing actually falls? When Roboute Guilliman returned, the Great Rift split the galaxy in half. Did the universe finally begin to move forward? Or is it an illusion to get better? So is 40K a story, or is it a setting pretending to be one? To understand this properly, we have to go back to what Warhammer 40K was actually designed to be. It wasn't meant to be a progressive novel series. It wasn't meant to be a cinematic universe. It was built by Games Workshop as a sandbox, as a battlefield backdrop. The phrase says it all. In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. That's not a plot. That's a condition. A setting doesn't need a resolve. It doesn't need to have an ending, and it doesn't need progression. What it needs is tension, permanently. The Imperium has been dying for decades. The Eldar have been dying for decades. Chaos has been on the brink of total victory for decades. Nothing wins, but nothing truly fails. Because if something wins, the sandbox closes. If 40K is a setting, stagnation isn't the flaw, it's the design philosophy. The galaxy has to remain in a perpetual state of almost over, because the moment terror falls or chaos truly consumes the Imperium, your army starts being part of the ongoing war and starts being part of history. And remember, 40K isn't just read, it's played. Every tabletop game is supposed to feel like it matters. That only works if the universe is wide enough, static enough, and unresolved enough for your story to fit inside it. So maybe 40K wasn't meant to move forward. Maybe it was meant to burn forever but never collapse. And if that's true, then every time the narrative advances, we have to ask ourselves, are we gaining story or losing the setting? But here's the problem with calling 40K a static setting. It hasn't been completely static. For years, the universe was frozen at 1 second to midnight. Abaddon was launching Black Crusades, the Imperium was rotten, the Emperor was silent, and nothing fundamentally changed. Then the novels came. The massive expansion, the narrative through the Horus Heresy. Suddenly, myth became history. Legends became characters. The past wasn't just flavor text anymore. It was unfolding in detail. And then something even bigger happened. Roboute Guilliman came back. A Primarch. Not in a flashback, not a legend. In the present timeline. The galaxy split itself in half with the Great Rift. The Imperium Nihilus was born and the Indomitus Crusade launched. The clock didn't just tick closer to midnight, it jumped forward. That's different. Because when events move forward in a meaningful way, when leadership changes, when borders shift, when crusades begin, you're not just describing a condition anymore, you're describing progression. So was Guilliman's return the moment 40K stopped being purely a setting? Did the sandbox suddenly grow a direction? Is the galaxy now on a trajectory towards restoration, towards collapse or something final? Because if the universe has momentum, if it's building towards something, then 40K might or might not just be a place where stories happen. It might be a story itself. So did Guilliman break the stagnation? On the one hand, it's hard to argue that he didn't. Before his return, the Imperium had no central figure in the present timeline. The Emperor was silent. The High Lords were bureaucrats, and the galaxy was rotting without direction. Now there is a Primarch walking amongst the stars again. There is leadership, there are reforms, there is the Indomitus Crusade. The Imperium isn't just decaying anymore, it's reacting. And that changes the feeling of the universe. We expect developments now. We watch what Guilliman does. The expectation, that sense of what next, is the DNA of the story. But here's the counterpoint. Has anything truly changed? The Imperium is still doomed. Chaos is still infinite. The Emperor is still trapped on the throne. No faction can actually win. Terror cannot fall. The Tyranids cannot consume the galaxy. Chaos cannot claim total victory. Because if any of those things happens, the sandbox collapses. So maybe what Guilliman did wasn't break stagnation. He maybe just refined it. The galaxy is split in half. The borders shifted. The politics grew more complex. But the core premise remains untouched. Endless war, endless decay, endless suffering. Bring it all together. If stagnation means nothing can ever be resolved, then yes, it is still stagnant. But if stagnation means nothing ever changes, then Guilliman shattered this illusion. The real question isn't whether 40K moved, it's whether the movement is allowed to lead anywhere. We've seen this before. Warhammer Fantasy Battles didn't stay frozen forever. It had an end time. The world broke, gods died, civilizations collapsed, and the setting ended. So what if 40K did the same? What if Terra falls? What if the Golden Throne fails? What if the Emperor dies, truly dies? What happens to the game if the heart of the Imperium stops beating? Does every Space Marine chapter become a relic of a dead empire? Or does the entire foundation of the setting crack? What if Chaos wins? Not almost wins. Not another Black Crusade. Total victory. The galaxy swallowed by the warp. Does the sandbox collapse if there's nothing left to fight for? Or what if the Tyranids consume everything? No Imperium, no Eldar, no Necrons awakening into anything meaningful. Just biomass and silence. The truth is, 40K may not be structurally incapable. The truth is, 40K may be structurally incapable of ending. Because it isn't just a story, it's a platform, a setting designed to sustain infinite conflict. An ending introduced resolution introduced winners and losers. And once someone truly wins, the war is over. So does 40K ever need to, or does 40K need to never end? Is Eternal almost doomed the price of keeping the universe playable? Or would a true end times, a real conclusion, be the boldest, most honest thing the setting could ever do? So where does this leave us? Is Warhammer 40K purely a setting or a story? As its foundation, it's a setting. It was built as a stage for conflict. A universe wide enough and unresolved enough for your army and your campaign, your narrative to exist inside of it. That's it. That's its skeleton. But layered on top of its skeleton, especially in recent years, is something undeniably narrative. Guilliman's return, the Great Rift, the Indomitus Crusade. Those aren't just background conditions, they're chapters. So 40K today is both a setting and has begun flirting with becoming a story. Should it move forward? Carefully. Movement creates excitement. It creates investment. It creates tension that feels real. But movement also risks resolution. And resolution risks breaking the very thing that allowed the universe to be a function, or the universe to function as a living, playable world. The line between evolution and deconstruction is simple. Evolution changes circumstances. Destruction changes the premise. You can split the galaxy in half. You can return Primarchs. You can launch Crusades. But the moment the Imperium truly falls, the moment chaos truly wins, the moment the war actually ends, the setting stops being eternal. And maybe that's the real paradox of 40K. It needs to feel like it's moving forward towards disaster. It needs to feel like the end is possible. But it can never be allowed to arrive Because if the story ever truly moved forward, someone has to lose. That's a good comment. Mark, I think it'd look great with a service stud because yeah, happy Valentine's Day to all you people. I should maybe be spending it with my family and not live streaming. What do you do? What do you do? We got plans later. Yeah, so that's 40K, you know, setting versus story. You know, it's undeniable what's happening. It was a setting, and now they're sprinkling in more story. And when writing this, I was thinking about, like, okay, so what's really changed? Like, okay, so Guilliman is back. But it's not like they pushed Chaos back. It's not like the Eye of Terror was closed or any real progress was made. Yeah, we got Primaris Marines, but who cares? They're not winning. They're not taking the Galaxy any more so than the regular Marines were. Like, that's like just kind of like, oh, there's now 1,500 Marines in a chapter. It's a minute change, really, in the grand scheme of things. War never changes, it never ends. But yeah, you do get these characters now, all these Primarchs coming back, not just Roboute Guilliman, but also the Lionel Johnson, and of course the Chaos Gods coming back too, or the Chaos Primarchs. But you get this. You get it, so we're still stuck in this stalemate. Doesn't matter who advances or who comes forward, who fights who, we still end in this stagnation. And this has also been a complaint of mine. Like, yeah, okay, so we aren't moving forward, but at the same time, we're not even pretending to like try to move forward in some sense. Like, I just don't get how we have so many Primarch characters fighting each other all the time, and then we get some stupid fucking like, and then one gets teleported away, or like fucking when a Astartes fights an orc and the orc's head gets cut off and then it gets stitched on another orc body. Like, they come up with 1,000 ways not to kill these main characters while trying to keep them in this story arc. So it's this weird dance that they're playing, and sometimes they do an okay job of it. Like, I love the Great Rift, Ripping the Galaxy. That opens up so many story possibilities without changing the core concepts. Like, okay, now the galaxy has 2 empires of decay, and one's like ultra decay, and one's like, we'll just slowly decay. You get Chaos able to kind of be everywhere, more stories, more factions interacting with it. You know, pros and cons to everything, I suppose. If it was me, like, it can't be 100% setting, and it can't be 100% story. It also, I don't think, should be a 50-50 balance. Like, if I'm leaning towards anything, we go 75% setting and 25% story, where, you know, yeah, we know a couple big events or whatever, but like, you don't need to hear necessarily about like everything. I feel like 40K fits best actually when you're writing about it in short stories. Big drawn out novels, and especially like big 10 book story arcs and stuff like that. I just feel like the more detail, the more you try to get into it, the more you have to break the rule of cool, and like the more you have to try to be realistic. Where I feel like when you just have like, here's a page long short story, I'm going to throw you into the thick of it. Enjoy. I hope you survive. And you just give them a page of madness. I feel like that's how 40K story settings, like, I really enjoy that style. So you kind of got, you know, I think the next episode, a couple down, we're going to do an episode on Codex lore versus novel lore versus third-party lore. And just kind of how that all breaks down, and like, what is canon? Where do we get like some type of standardization so we can all write stories still? Because like, I write stories in 40K all the time, but like I'm kind of saying, I write kind of more short stories. Yeah, that's my thoughts on that. I got a couple questions here. Can a universe built for tabletop war ever truly have narrative consequences? Yeah, and that's an interesting one. You know, on tabletop, you have your named characters and they fight and then they die, and you're like, he was just knocked unconscious this battle, or maybe his sword broke and he had to bend down and find it, or, you know, you come up with little ways of why your big bad hero just got fucking yanked by a Termagant, you know? But yeah, like, how do you have a story and have characters in a galaxy so dangerous where nothing really, you can't get attached to anything enough to really want to write a story about them? Because like, if you keep them alive, you're just kind of like yanking the chain of disbelief almost, you know? Like, look at this Imperial Guardsman take on a squad of Chaos Space Marines, and you're just like, Yeah, I guess in 40K that happens. And yes, these stories are supposed to be the exceptional examples of 40K. So melt a bomb that Chaos Space Marine, I guess. But fuck, I just don't know if I want to read about it and like have people think that that's like a commonplace, you know? Like guardsmen are just out there doing that. Yeah, anyways. Next one. Is stagnation a flaw or the secret to its longevity? Yeah, the stagnation. I think that's what really kind of keeps it going back. Like, I've noticed this about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You know, I don't know how many movies deep they are now. Fucking 20 plus movies, but they're too far in now. Where whatever story they're telling 30 fucking movies in cannot be important in any way, or with their writing devalues what they already showed. So it's like I feel like now I've heard they're going back and like rewriting a bunch of stuff in Marvel. I haven't paid attention since Endgame. I'm like, oh, you ended the universe? Great. I don't have to pay attention anymore. And then they went back and ended, and you have all these shenanigans. Like stories do have upper limits. Like you can't write a story forever. It just doesn't work that way. So the stagnation is great because like, yeah, you can write a story and like at the end of the day, the battle just kind of peters on forever and whatever. You can have some cool stuff happen. Maybe the planet changes hands, but in a galaxy of 1 million planets, who the fuck cares? Yeah, stagnation is definitely like, it's key, man. Without it, like, yeah, I just don't see 40K carrying on. Like, how many times can we see a Primarch fight a Primarch and nothing happens? I'm over it. I'm sure everyone else is over that too. Yeah, you want to see your favorite heroes from 40 or from 30K, but like, man. All right, some other questions. At what point does a setting become a story? Yeah, I think it's that momentum that they're talking about. Like, it's not that are things happening. Is the tone of the universe changing? Because things happen all the time in 40K, right? Like planets live and die all the time, but like, does one planet living or dying change the overall scheme? No. So I think that's what happens when you take that narrative shift where it's like something happened and now everything is different, where Roboute Guilliman came back and everything is still kind of the same. The galaxy still kind of sucks. I do have a couple people in the chat. Maybe somebody else has some input. I'll drop a link in the description if anyone wants to. I got a couple minutes left here to try to say something. I do have other questions too. So there's a link in the description below. If Terra fell tomorrow, would 40K survive as a game? Interesting one. Like the Emperor is unique in the fact that, like, I think if he dies, he's gonna either manifest as a warp god, or he's a perpetual, so he'll just like manifest his body back. So that's an interesting one because it's not about Terra falling. It's about what happens with the Emperor if it fell, because he could then come back and now you have this whole new like narrative, or he could be lost in the warp and become a chaos god. Now you kind of have like them praying to him, and it's pretty much status quo. Instead of people worshiping him as the god of Terra, now he's actually a god. So the setting wouldn't really change. So it's not necessarily about Terra falling. It's kind of what happens with the Emperor. As little of an impact he has on the story, that's how big of an impact he kind of has if he does anything. So end time tensions. Does 40K secretly need the illusion of having an end time to stay compelling? Yeah, like that whole 1 minute to midnight kind of concept. That clock is just 1 minute away, and at any moment it could tick over. I don't think it needs that, because like you have planets in 40K that are 50 minutes past midnight. Like they're in the shit of it, you know, and that's the galaxy as a whole might not be, but that planet just had a massive demon invasion. So you can still tell these stories of past midnight, you know, and still have like crazy things happen. And it's just a planet, no big deal. Let's see if there's another one that's kind of catching me. I read and answered a lot of these questions when writing, just thinking about them. But Are we emotionally investing in a universe that cannot resolve? So that's what's happening. That's what's happening now in 40K. Like, we are asked to follow these characters where nothing really happens, and we're supposed to show interest in these characters that, yeah, they're doing all these things, but like nothing fucking happens. So yeah, you want me to get emotionally invested in it? It's just fatigue, man. It's just fatigue, I feel like. Because yeah, Roboute Guilliman's not going to come back, and he's not going to lose his arm and then get put in a dreadnought. Like, we're past that. They're not doing that kind of fun stuff. They're playing it safe. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Primarchs like Lionel Johnson or Corvus Corax if they come back in their warp form. Like, we got like a Ghost Shadow Raven, and we got like a fucking werewolf. You know, yeah, it's just one of those things. Like, I'm just gonna get fatigued because I'm gonna invest and not get any return. So I feel like honestly, it does kind of kill it more so, because that I could have had countless conversations with Christian about what the fuck were those Primarchs like, man? Like, who's stronger? How did this guy do this, right? And then we got all those answers, and now I'm like, okay, how do I not talk about the Primarchs? Like, I fucking know that. I get it. So I don't know. That's just my thought. 40K setting or a story. Like I said, to sum this all up, it is both. You know, right now they're probably leaning a little bit more towards driving it as a story than a setting, but it's probably like a 60-40 mix. I would like to see it on the opposite side where it's like 75% setting, 25% story. You get some things happening, but they're like, you know, something happens when a new when a new fucking, what is it called? A new edition comes out. Like, if when 11th edition comes out, maybe that's when you write a couple novels that kind of does a couple things. But anyways, that is that. We got a couple more of these. We got many more of these episodes to come. So I hope you enjoy them. If you do, don't forget to subscribe to the Patreon, reach out, let me know. You can always email me your thoughts. Maybe at the end of these manifestos, I'll just compile a bunch of your guys' thoughts. I know it's hard to miss the live streams or get in here because they're kind of spontaneous, but yeah, we'll do what we can do. We'll see you all on the next episode.